We're going live now. Peace and love, Moors. I'm on live. Hopefully it's propped up just the way it is. Alright. Okay, good. Now, as long as it just stays just like that. That would be great. Alright. Peace and love. I am here to go over, I just decided to go on Facebook Live instead of instead of YouTube. I'll go on YouTube and load the video later. But for now, it's easier for me to go live on Facebook. And I thought I brought everything over here. Okay. Get this over here. There's a few things that I need to let you all know, and you need to acquaint yourselves with and become aware of. And that is moving and operating in your Aborigine and Imperial status. We must learn how to operate in our dealings daily, and when we contact certain entities regarding whatever it is that we plan to do, want to do, so on and so forth. There's that. So the topics of discussion currently are our accounts with the Federal Reserve, or the accounts that are attached to our Social Security numbers. So I'm going to go over that today. I hope this is on, because I don't see anybody chiming in. It says live. So hopefully it's live. I'm going to go and see. So I'm going to let a few people show up. And go from there. Whatever the case may be, it's going to be valuable information, and it will be saved on my timeline and also on Imperial Lectures, which is my YouTube, Imperial Lectures on YouTube. Okay. Currently, right now, there are those of us that have demanded the use of our accounts with the Federal Reserve. And I've been getting a lot of feedback with Moors and various other individuals that say they have also done this or haven't had success, so on and so forth. Here's what we need to know. We need to know that whatever movement in commerce is our right. Whatever we claim to do and how we choose to do commerce by lawful notice and letters of intent, such as affidavits, notice of intent, labeling it actual lawful constructive notice. Once they are noticed, these corporate dead entities are noticed of our intent at law, we may operate in the fashion as lawful fashion as we see fit. A question was brought to me that, well, a comment, a suggestion, comment, whatnot. And the brother said, you know, as far as I understand, those aren't our numbers and so on and so forth. Social Security numbers, EIN numbers, whatever. Well, our names aren't our names either until we claim them back. Everything they have given to us is not ours, was not ours. Did we not, those of us that knew that we needed to reclaim or reclaim our status, did we not reclaim those things? That chattel paper, names, numbers, birth certificate, social security card, whatever it was. Once we knew better and found out that it was not ours to begin with, we created a new contract. Same here. I have lawfully noticed, these are some of the things that you need to know and the groundwork that has been laid and paved for you. I have lawfully noticed all congressional leaders, President Advisory Board, and the constituents of the United States of America, Amaruka, that there is a lawful filing, excuse me, in the Library of Congress of the proclamations, declarations, and notices of our being out of interregnum. If you don't know what interregnum means, you have to do your studies. I'm not going to hold your hand on every little thing. Interregnum, we are out of interregnum as of 2016. Thereafter followed another Library of Congress filing. Proclamation of the Aborigine Moors of Amexem, which includes our lawful laws, claims to the land, how we choose to operate, which is in our charter, the violations. So these claims, or this proclamation, declaration, charter, includes Protection Act of the Aborigine, Restoration Act of the Aborigine, Sovereign Soil Tax of the Aborigine, Charter and Fee Schedule, and Master Lien. These are some of the lawful steps that have been laid out as an infrastructure and foundation for us to move forward in our lawful status upon the land, rather in fraud, using their statutes and codes and bylaws and things that do not pertain to us. We must remember the basics, and that is, we have been here. Our status and lawful status has been attached to the land long before any corporate usufruct came into play, which means any federal quote-unquote organization, any state quote-unquote organization, municipality, and all in between thereof. All political subsidiaries and political bodies of the United States Corporation, U.S. Corporation, for all who don't know and understand that that is a separate entity from we the people, United States of America. We the people. It's always been two sides of government. It's just that we had not known or had the posterity on how to move forward until now. Those of us have accepted the call of the universe to retain, regroup, and recover these things, these lawful rights that are inherently given to us. Please understand and know you do not have to ask for everything. We are in the capacity, as it were, when the Emperor Muhammad wrote the treaty. Just go back there. I'm using that as a reference point. Although we know we are of aboriginal status, our claims upon the land are antiquitous. We know this. At this point, it does not behoove us to go all the way back into the Stone Age where there was no written law. That does not behoove us. We will pick up and begin where they will understand us. These imposters will understand us, and they know full well that they are imposters. They know the big secret that they've taken a guild to Great Britain to keep, that the Moors are the lawful landowners. Nothing in commerce can lawfully move without us. Moors, you need to know this. You need to understand this. And the word of the day is you need to operate in this, knowing, without fear. Once you have equipped yourself with your laws, your words of your ancestors, and you know them within your being as I do, you will not fear anything. You will know that the law states your ancestors left you words to live by, to stand on, and to operate in as the lawful heirs to the land. I'm just letting them know I'm on live. In case they didn't know. Okay, so this form that I have posted, and also for anyone who didn't know, and some of the Moors that posed a question to me in my inbox regarding their communications with the Ombudsman and also the Office of the Inspector General of the Federal Board of Governors, Federal Reserve Board of Governors, stating that they do not deal with individuals, they do not deal with personal accounts. I'm here to tell you there are forms, and here's one of them. I have it posted on my Facebook page. This is a form from the Federal Reserve Bank and the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. They have insisted upon teaching gatekeepers certain things and not to deter us from our lawful claims and lawful rights in using them and them working for us. They have this whole thing turned around, and we have to turn all things back around to restore proper order upon our land, keeping in mind everything that we do is right when we notice them. There's a term in law that, first let me show you this form. Okay, this is the form right here from the Federal Reserve Bank. And this is on my Facebook page. This form right here, I submitted to them along with about 30 other pages and forms. This form right here clearly states official authorization list, non-depository institution and or other financial or non-financial entities. But they would lead you to believe they don't deal with any individuals or any non-financial entities when they clearly do. And they have forms that indicate such on their website. So, needless to say, there's people in place to get us off the trail. And I have had successes in my dealings because I steadfast to what I know and I do not give up. And once you seed yourself in the maxims of law, as I have, you will have that same confidence. And with confidence eliminates fear. This is the basis of their power source. Your fear of them coming after you. For what? If I'm in my lawful proper status, moving forward at law, what are they coming after me for? Because I'm claiming my property that I have claimed back? I've already claimed back all my names, numbers, chattel paper, property for me and my children. So whatever I ask for in regards to that, I'm the owner in due course of that. No matter what they say. That's over a decade seeded into law. Indefinitely filed. So when you go about commerce in a certain fashion, if you are violated during that course of action, the violators are liable at that point. Many of them have not been informed as to law, period. They're not informed as to how to handle us, how to move forward at law. And they've been told, I'm sure by now, because we just won't go away, that there's something to what we're saying and doing. But just like anything else, they will not admit or acquiesce. They will go down with the lie. So be it. As we move forward in our proper status at our lawful right, pursuant to the doctrine of heirship, there is no recourse for them. The only things they think they can do now at this point is continue to commit fraud. There's nowhere else for them to go. They can either acquiesce, join us, be cordial in their doings, and that's it. What I've experienced is we have to incorporate our ancient culture into everything that we do. We cannot continue to operate half-cocked. We have to tap into the spirit realm, incorporate our ancient spiritual protections, because really what we're doing when we demand something, when we send them a letter, this is an art form of war that they consider adverse to them and to their system. Any of us that do not go along with their quote-unquote program are considered subversive, and they do not take kindly to that. At some point, they're going to have to acquiesce. It's just no way around it. As I stated at the beginning, there's nothing on this land that can move without us lawfully. We have the treaties, we have the ancient books, we have the ancient monuments and stones identifying our ancestors as the first to touch this soil, going back to antiquity. Sis, can you turn on that light for me? Can you turn on the light? It's just getting dark. But we have nothing but aces in our corner, and there is nothing that we can do on our land that can be considered fraud. These people operate from their inception. They have operated fraudulently. Go pull up the Clearfield Doctrine. They have no lawful status. They have no power. That was solidified at the Supreme Court level. Clearfield Doctrine. Just simple laws, maxims of law that you need to know that will bring you out of a place of fear. And that's the main thing that I need to stress upon, and I want our people to know and realize that there is nothing that you have to be fearful of. If you want to go and do your research on what I'm saying, go check the laws of North Carolina 1739 and read what they say, written by a Moor. Go and check and read on the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and read what they say. None of these congressional hearings or laws passed on our land are lawful because they have not gone through the proper chains of command. They have to have the advice. They have to be under advice and signature of one of us, as it were, with our ancestors. King James was a landlord of New York. You can find that somewhere on Google. He was a Moor. All of these individuals in power that they have whitewashed their faces are more than likely their origin is a Moor. They have whitewashed our history. They have whitewashed the people in power to look like them, to keep the lie going, to keep the fraud going. Well, now we know. Now we know the Queen of England has acquiesced to our power. She has relinquished her holdings to me in 2007. We have to get to a place where we are walking and moving and executing, operating in what we say we are. Do it lawfully, do it respectfully, but do it affirmatively. There is no reason why we should still be going without. There's no reason why we should be in fear. There's no reason why they should still be putting their hands on us, which is why we are instituting the counselor courts across the nation. We have to adjudicate and move out, roll out, and operate on our land as we have already laid down that proclamation that we have come forward and out of interregnum back to rule our dominions as our ancestors, written in law, in the Bible. They have accepted the Bible as law in 1982. King James was a Moor. That's one of our ancestors. There are so many modalities and doctrines of law, such as the doctrine of heirship. Until we get back to actually writing laws ourselves and putting them back on the books, our laws are there to keep them in check. The debtors that we allowed to be on this land for a certain period of time. The laws written is for our subjects. So therefore, those laws that we wrote as sovereigns, which is in the law, sovereign immunity. I'm going to read something for you. For all of y'all that don't like the word sovereign, even though I don't use it, I don't need to because of the stigma. I never used it. But I'm going to let you know something. What your ancestors were considered as and what they called themselves. Here's an affidavit, one-page wonder, I call it, that shuts the whole state down. I gave it to the district attorney of this district, Charlotte, North Carolina, a couple of years ago, and it basically shut the state down, okay? Because in every aspect of our lives, we need to take the opportunity to educate. As we were brainwashed, so were they. Take the time to educate in love. Don't be adverse about it. Just do what you have to do. Write it in an affidavit form and keep it moving. It's a lifestyle because we're coming out of a certain age. Now we're coming back into our golden age. And we have to take the lead on that. We have to educate. We have to inform. And we have to be the ones to teach them how to handle our affairs until we get our structure or government back up in place as we see fit. But as long as they are there to work for us. They have misconstrued their roles and duties as to how to handle the public and how to handle the private affairs of the landlords, which is us. So in this one-page wonder, this affidavit of immunity is a verified statement of myself. And when dealing in court matters, these are the North Carolina statutes, which you can go and find yours in your state. The North Carolina statute states, pursuant to NCGS, that's North Carolina General Statute, Section 1-85, affidavits on hearing for removal. When removal ordered, no action, civil or criminal, shall be removed unless the affidavit sets forth particularly and in detail the ground of the application. Okay, regarding, this is my words to them, regarding any and all court presentations wherein the state and federal United States District, Superior, and federal courts. Notice, I always do more than one thing with one document. It's just one page to shut them down. You don't need a lot of big, thick paperwork all the time because they don't want to read. Only affidavits and certified sealed documents are accepted and acknowledged as fact in their court system if you had to go in there anyway. So I generally give them a notice in the affidavit, and I give them education on how and why I'm making these statements, and I always back it up with my supporting evidence. So in this affidavit of immunity, I also let them know they were fired. So to the states, municipalities, law enforcement, court officers, notice to the principals, notice to the agent is notice to the principal. Now comes Ninti El Bay, living soul. Pay close attention to the verbiage you use. This takes you out of their corporate bylaws and lets them know that you are not a corporate slave up underneath their rule by just your verbiage. We'll also get into how to not get into contract, because they are the masters of deception. Their whole sole purpose is to get you into contract. You must remember this maxim of law if you don't remember any other maxims of law. Contract is law, and law is contract. That is the first basis of law, period. No matter what you say and what you do, if you have to go in their courtroom, first of all, you placing your vessel within their grasp gives them implied jurisdiction. Most times that we go in there or are placed in there is under a situation of duress. We did not elect to go in there. So just in case you have to go in there or you have been placed in there, you have to know how to conduct your commerce. because that's all it is. That is a bank. You have to learn how not to get in contract. You don't accept their pretrial. You don't accept their probation. You don't accept anything they're saying. You are not guilty. Period. Not guilty. I don't know what you're talking about. Rely on my paperwork. That's it. No jurisdiction. Only Article 3 judges can adjudicate any of my affairs. And this affidavit right here will shut them down, period. So let me finish. Okay, so this is notice to the state, municipalities, law enforcement, and court officers. Now comes Ninti El Bay, living soul, executor of her own estate, having taken first lien right over all of my chattel paper property. First lien right ownership over all her and her children's chattel paper property names and numbers. I own those numbers. Whatever I choose to do with my property as I see fit is what it is. They cannot tell me not to demand anything of mine that they are using. That is the number one basis of fraud, for them to be using something that I have lawfully claimed as my own, and they are benefiting from it. Don't let these people scare you out of what is yours. What is your right? Nothing that the Aborigine landowner, sovereign, if you have sovereign immunity, tribal sovereign immunity, that's the closest thing to your ancestors at law at this point that they will understand. It supersedes any federal. This supersedes federal common law. It's considered federal common law. The doctrine of heirship, the doctrine of federal common law, the doctrine of tribal sovereign immunity. When you say these things to a corporate officer, they will stand down. They know better. Give it to them in writing with an affidavit, and that's it. We as Moors are the original landlord, freehold landlords of the land. Any law that has been accepted and considered law for any tribe, nation, or the like is also our right to use, because we have to remember, we were in existence before any of these laws, federal or otherwise, came into play. But this is the closest thing at this point that will back them up. When you make it known of your status. Many of them have not been taught that the dark-skinned, melanated individuals are also of Aborigine indigenous status, and that they can, and that the so-called amalgamated Indians, lighter-skinned Indians, came from our lineage. This is just all screwed up, and they have everything misconstrued. So we have to take every opportunity to teach and inform them of the history, the proper chain of command, which is why I posted that hierarchy chart to give to any corporate actor who does not know the hierarchy of the land. We are antiquitous, part and parcel of the land. That's at the very top. We are the United States of America. And everything that comes up under that is just, you know, the hierarchy of the power structure in the United States of America. So, in all your doings, let these individuals know of your proper status and how you choose to move in commerce and what they can and shall not do to you and your family. So, in this one-page wonder, I list that I'm not a minor, and they cannot be now or in the future consider me a minor. Any derivatives thereof, the names, contracts created knowingly, unknowingly from the time of creation are owned by Nintiel Bay. Further standing, Nintiel Bay is a member of the Cherokee Nation of Moors, tribe / considered to them a Moorish national with sovereign immunity at law. This is a law called a doctrine of law, which is called sovereign immunity. The jurisdiction of her matters does not lay within any Admiralty maritime court system operating on water. Nintiel Bay is not a party to any, is not a party to any contracts by the state of North Carolina or any other state that would bind or waive her sovereign immunity at law. All adhesive contracts regarding traffic matters have been satisfied and appeared to by special visitation. Driving records must be abated and made clear of all failures to appear. This is one of the devices that the state is using to falsely impede Nintiel Bay's movement in commerce on the land, in which she has aboriginal title to, and is considered part and parcel thereof. The state of North Carolina's efforts to defame the character and the name of Nintiel Bay has already cost them, the state of North Carolina, $101,006,000. As indicated on the state's ledger report for settlement since 2011. This essentially means that Congress has the final word as to the scope of tribal sovereign immunity or tribal sovereignty and the powers that tribes are able to exercise technically at law and the hierarchy of a monarch, constitutional monarchy. Congress has to take the advisement of the sovereign. So technically, that's why Congress cannot even make laws pertaining to us or against us. You need to know this. You need to know your history. You need to study your jurisprudence. You need to study your treaties. You need to go back and study your laws on the books prior to this usufruct, prior to the 1900s. All of it is there. What the Moors who ruled over dominions stated and left in the law for us, the heirs. And these things that they have done have misconstrued the power structure and the land. They changed the map coordinates so that the landowners could not find their land, as well as hunted them down and killed them, especially in the South. The Tunica and the Washita had to run and change their names to Turner and Washington to save their lives and their descendants' lives, because they had won their case in the Supreme Court at that time that this was their land. Yet you had the colonialists, inquisitionists, Rosicrucians, barristers that came and stole the land and labeled all dark people slaves, which we were not. So, in letting them know and affirming who you are in writing, this is how I have done it. Be creative. As long as you use the law and stand on the maxims of law, you can do no wrong. And it states it right here in the doctrine of tribal immunity. It states that the sovereign, the basis of law and the court system was written and created by the sovereign. Therefore, there is no wrong that the sovereign can do in their law, in the federal statute. It says it, well, the federal common law is well known, and I have listed probably 30 Supreme Court cases to support that. If you would like a copy of it, send me an inbox. I will send you a copy of it so that you can know exactly how and what is on the books for you as you claim your immunity from the corporate, municipal laws, policies, and procedures that are not really law. It's just what they use to cipher money out of people and want to place you in a contract without you knowing. So, of course, the driver's license, the different contracts that you've signed, anything pertaining to the state, you have basically acquiesced and implied this jurisdiction over yourself. They cannot have control over you unless you give it to them. And this is something we have to practice on a day-to-day basis. And remember, they don't have power over us except for what we give them. So, in the tribal sovereign immunity, it's a part of federal common law. It was not created by any statute or act of Congress. Rather, the Supreme Court first identified it, and its exact boundaries have been further defined through a substantial body of federal case law. The doctrine of tribal sovereign immunity, the Supreme Court first acknowledged tribal sovereign immunity in Turner versus United States. And the list goes on and on and on. I have several cases here. I have about 30 cases here in the Supreme Court to support that. So let me go down and pick up where therefore, Congress has not specifically abrogated tribal immunity in the context of the cases, and they declined to revisit it in case law, and they defer it to Congress, because anything that they did not and cannot create, they cannot make an adjustment to. And I further went on to say and state in this affidavit, Ninti El Bay's status is pursuant to international treaty. Immunity from prosecution is the doctrine of international law. Sovereign immunity or crown immunity is a legal doctrine by which the sovereign or state, they include themselves in this because it's the ultimate protection. Like I said, they misconstrued and turned everything around. So everything that we've been accustomed to is really our right. They're sitting in our seats. They're imposters holding our power and operating in titles of nobility in which they are not sanctioned to have at law. They are committing fraud every day. All federal courts, all federal workers, all so-called quasi-governmental workers, FBI, CIA, you name it, they are of de facto status and they are not operating in their proper status at law. So, there is crown immunity, and it is a legal doctrine by which the sovereign cannot commit a legal wrong and is immune from civil suit or criminal prosecution. In constitutional monarchies, the sovereign is the historical origin of the authority which creates the courts. It's our authority that created the courts. Thus, the courts had no power to compel the sovereign to be bound by the courts, as they were created by the sovereign for the protection of his or her subjects. There you have it. And for Moors of North Carolina, you would go on to further list and state the statute, North Carolina statute. This affidavit is pursuant to the North Carolina statute, chapter 52, section 15A-9954. And what is that? 9. The defendant this is if you were a defendant. You have section 9. The defendant has been granted immunity by law from prosecution, and you would rely upon your sovereign tribal immunity at law. And then we can go further into the doctrine of heirship, which is what they have to recognize as attaching you to the land. And so these are some of the things that I use and how I move in commerce, and this is what I consider imperial language that we have to get back to. You are not in a position to ask. It's backwards. We have to unbrainwash ourselves. We are in the capacity of a ruler, a sovereign, as your ancestors were. Study how your ancestors moved and navigated and conducted business in their dominions. This is what we have to do. As long as you are not operating in your proper status and capacity, we will continue to live in strife. We will continue to not see the fruits of our ancestors' labor. If we do not go into the spirit realm and invoke them, we will not receive the blessings and the support of our ancestors. All of these things and ways of life and hidden culture has been just that, hidden from us. These are the things that I move in, how I've gotten successes, how I learned the hard way that I have to call upon the ancestors for help. These entities have literally attacked me spiritually, come in my house, cars, all of these things for a long period of time. I am divinely protected, which is why it never worked. But the ancestors, the Most High, my guardians, angels, and warriors wanted me to see and learn that I have these powers and that they are there with me. So that'll be another book or another time. I will go over spiritual rituals of protection, but these things have to be instituted and incorporated prior to you exhibiting your art of war upon them. And that is sending them letters, notices, affidavits, paperwork. You have to be covered in the spirit realm first. We have to approach things at a holistic level. And all of our culture and our protections have been cut off and blocked off from us, which is why we make a little progress and then nothing happens. We get over the years. So we're at the point now where we have marched enough. We're at the point now where we've pleaded and gone to the UN, and we have what else we've done? Speeches, Million Man marches. That stuff is not operating in your full capacity. You're not operating as your ancestors did. This is why it's important, and ultimately the only way to go is to learn your history of how your ancestors controlled and ruled their dominions. Period. All this other gibberish is out the door. We moving forward. The only thing left for us to now do is secure our orders that we've made. And how are we to secure our orders? You already know. Use your intellect or your spiritual knowing and awakening to figure that answer out. That's all we have to do now is move, roll out, and operate in our proper status of modum operandi as emperors, empresses, and freehold landlords of the land, which has nothing to do with the U.S. Corp and their usufruct and their imposter subsidiary political bodies. It has nothing to do with them. We are in our proper status and capacity as our ancestors were, and if we don't, who will? Stop being in fear. Learn the Imperial language when you deal with these people. Cover yourself in your ancient rituals of protection, your ancient knowledge and culture. And that's about it that I wanted to discuss. But as far as the recent posts that I have made regarding the entities that are and have been utilizing our accounts, make sure you notify them that you are firing all trustees, fiduciaries, intermediaries, correspondents, respondents on your account. You have claimed your chattel paper property, your numbers, as well as your names. All of it's owned by you in commerce. Remember, they are moving in commerce. All you have to do, you are the energy that is driving them. Take back your energy. Claim it, own it, give them notice, and that's it. Speak in the Aboriginal and Imperial dialect, which is a place of respectfully giving orders. You have that capacity, bloodline, birthright, and it's solidified on record to do. There's no other way around it. There's no fear involved. It is what it is. Whoever is not used to it or don't know the law, they need to go and start at www.aborigineofamexem.com. ABORIGINEOFAMEXEM.com. The entities and most of us have been brainwashed into asking for everything from them. They have been taught to deny everything that we ask them for. They've been taught this. Remember, these people who tell us no, tell us what we're doing is not right, tell us what we're doing in fraud are merely gatekeepers that have been taught to say this. We have to deal with the decision makers and hold them accountable and put them in jail when they do not comply. Our brother in Philadelphia, the Interfaith Court has muftis, bailiffs, sharifs on the streets right now, protecting the interest of the estate. This is what we should be doing in every state. This is what we shall be doing in every state. Consider this the Moorish state of address. You've heard it from me. Playtime is over. Do your due diligence, do your homework, move and operate in the capacity as though it were your ancestors. Study their laws, study what they wrote and what they left behind. You can start with the Bible, because that is our God who left us instructions. And I have a personal prophecy of Joshua 1, 3, and 6. I know my purpose. I know I'm divinely protected. And I roll out no matter what if I have to roll out by myself. This is what I do. Because I have come to terms with my divine calling without fear. So everything has been backwards since at least 1933. These entities holding office, holding buildings, operating out of buildings on our land have now been noticed. Each and every entity, building, person, business, place, child operating a building, a facility, a house, a car, equipment, tolls, toll booths, whatever is affixed upon our land is due a sovereign soil tax to the estate, nunc pro tunc. Now, those that wish to protect the interest of the estate, get with Brother Chalet Morbay so that we may start instituting our rightful, lawful estate and operating as such, as we were told by the Most High, the spirits and the ancestors and angels, and a divine call I received just yesterday from a brother who received that message from a dignitary at the UN. You have everything you need to have in place. The only thing left for you to do is operate in that in which you are. Peace and love, Moors. I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to try to do a series. My schedule is so hectic, and the ancestors may have me doing any number of things at any given time. But I'm going to make sure you hear from me and get you groomed and up and going the way you need to be, as far as I know, the best way I know how, before I go to my island, because I'm going to be saying peace real soon. Peace and love, Moors. Inbox me if you need. Inbox